and welcome to the latest session in our Real Estate Live February week. Real Estate Live UK is a week-long programme of online events, happens 3 times a year, February, June and October. Its aim is to keep the economic development and regeneration sectors talking at what is a crucial time, and also to aid places in their inward investment efforts. We are going to have a session hosted here by Invest Waltham Forest. You can submit questions to the panel throughout the session using the Q&A function at the bottom of your screens. And any questions there isn't time for will be forwarded to Waltham Forest Council, and they will respond to you directly. Now, before we begin the event, we're just going to launch a short poll asking you what will be the most significant trend for regeneration professionals in 2021. There you can see the choices. You make your choice, and we will add all those results up together. We're doing that in every event this week, and we'll produce a final result at the end of the week. Now, while you're just finishing off doing that, I will introduce our next session. As I say, it's hosted by Invest Waltham Forest. I know the borough well, and I know that it's brimful of opportunity, but you don't have to take my word for it, because we've got an expert panel chaired by Nicola Mathers, and I'm going to hand over to her now. Nicola, CEO of Future of London, to chair the event. Nicola.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. So good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us. As Ross said, it's a session to look at all the investment opportunities in Waltham Forest. So we're going to be hearing from the Waltham Forest team and one of their development partners, and the team will be sharing with you their strategic ambition for the borough and talk through the specific development opportunities that are available at the moment. Now, if you know Waltham Forest, you'll be very familiar with the programme that has transformed Blackhorse Lane, an industrial area near the centre of the borough that's now changing into a mixed-use community of employment and residential. So while the work at Blackhorse Lane continues with a growing number of developers and investors that I'm sure Jonathan will tell us about, the council is now shifting its gaze to other places in the borough. So we're going to be hearing about Lea Bridge and Leyton, including the Low Hall depot site. And these are the most significant opportunities that are going on around the redeveloped, revitalised stations and public realm. We're also going to hear about the council's commitment to culture. And as you know, Waltham Forest was London's first borough of culture, and about how the council is really putting this concept of the 15-minute neighbourhood at the forefront of all its development plans. So the structure of our session this morning is going to be 5 presentations and then a chance for Q&A. And as Ross said, I think if you have any reflections or comments, but particularly questions, please do post them in the Q&A box at the bottom of your screen at any time. I'm going to try and pick up as many as I can in the second half of the session. So I'd like to make a start by inviting Councillor Simon Miller. Councillor Miller is the Cabinet Member for Economic Growth and Housing Development, and he's going to talk to us about the political priorities of the borough and what the borough is looking for in terms of its future investors and developers. So over to you, Councillor Miller.
Thank you very much indeed, Nicola. My thanks to you all for joining us this morning, for your interest in Waltham Forest, and thank you to Ross and his team for hosting us. So, as Nicola says, I'm going to talk about our political priorities, what energises me, what gets me going, what also energises Claire as leader, and what sets our agenda. But I feel as though I really ought to, looking at my fellow panellists, I feel as though I really ought to start with an apology, because I'm clearly managing lockdown here much, much less well than everyone else. I think the word secret barber trips spring to mind with something like alacrity. So Waltham Forest, all of us in the administration are absolutely driven by a very, very simple idea, which is how we deliver better for our residents. And that's better for our residents and better for the people who work in our borough as well. And that crystallises into 3 simple driving ambitions. 1, the bread and butter of every local authority, which is safer, cleaner streets. A 2nd, to put a decent roof over the heads of all of our people. And a 3rd, to improve the life chances of our residents. But in Waltham Forest, we are nothing if not ambitious. So we're not interested in slow incremental gain. What we want is transformative change. And for us, the growth agenda, that whole economic agenda, is a prime vehicle for how we deliver that transformative change to the benefit of our residents. Put in simple terms, it's 27,000 homes over the next 15 years. That's 27,000 homes to transform our townscapes and our streetscapes in each of the 8 individual town centres that make up our borough. Now, as a borough, we believe very much in council intervention. So we as a council have identified those growth areas. We as a council are driving a lot of that ambition, partly through our own build programme, but also for the build programme that's delivered through 60 Bricks that Jennifer will talk to. So 60 Bricks, our own wholly owned development company. But it goes beyond that, because over the past year, we have all been living with the impact of COVID. In pure numerical terms, that has meant 500 additional deaths in Waltham Forest, a huge and very real tragedy for so many of our people. But COVID not only gave us pause to stop, as it did for everyone as we first went into that lockdown, it's given us cause to think about what we do, how we do it, and to change that. Because as a council, it became very, very clear that COVID has caused the expectations of our residents of us, what they want from us as a council, has radically changed. We now have to deliver services differently, not just to reflect the new circumstances that we find ourselves in, but to reflect that radically changed resident expectation about how they want to live in their neighbourhood, how they want to live in their borough, and how they want to live in their city. They want amenity immediately on their doorstep. They want enhanced green space. They want quality of life that has become more important as a consequence of COVID than perhaps it was before that. So we've responded as a council. We've set out a new public service agenda, which sets out a radically new way of interpreting how a council should interact with its people. And there are a number of golden threads that run through that. The first one is an absolute commitment to delivering jobs for our people, because the tragedy of COVID is not just felt in those public health terms, in the health impacts on people, it's felt in the loss of employment, not just now, but over the long term as we, as a country, seek to recover from the COVID crisis. Before the COVID crisis, I used to speak with real pride at how we had built economic resilience in our borough, how we had blown down unemployment rates, and how we had one of the lowest, if not the lowest, unemployment rate of any borough in London. The starting point for that, though, was very high unemployment rates at the last financial crisis, on average 15% across the borough. We've now seen a 10,000 person rise in our universal credit claim count. We have up to 50,000 people on furlough. So for us, connecting people to jobs is critical to building an economically resilient future, and a future that gives our people the opportunities that they deserve and need. And we're doing that primarily through our build agenda. So back in June last year, we published our Economic Recovery Action Plan that set out the steps that we would take to help build a resilient economy, to help ensure that our businesses survived, and to help ensure that we went into a strong recovery once this crisis was over. At the core of that was a clear commitment from us as a council to build quality new homes, to invest in our communities, and invest not just to provide better infrastructure and better amenity, but to demonstrate to the developer community, to demonstrate to London as a whole, that Waltham Forest was a place to invest in and was worth investing in, and where investors and developers could invest with confidence. So we have done what we can to accelerate that programme. Work has started on the Score site in South Leyton, which would deliver 750 new homes and a new community square. Work has started and indeed is going on at pace on the Town Hall campus and Fellowship Square, creating a new community at what was once the administrative heart of the borough, but was certainly not a community by any normal stretch of the imagination. And it's manifest in the work that Darren and London Square and others are doing, primarily on our Lea Bridge sites, to bring forward new community centres there, but not just provide the homes that are needed, but enhance our community, providing critical infrastructure that we know helps make our spaces better places to live, and as a consequence of that, better spaces to employ, and as a consequence of that, better spaces for people to invest in as well. There are a number of golden threads that I alluded to that run through that. One is a commitment to zero carbon, to the green economy, manifests in the 15-minute neighbourhood that Jonathan will talk to shortly. And we are going great guns at extending our cycling and walking infrastructure to bear down on unnecessary transport usage, but also to provide the workspaces that are needed to provide high quality jobs in the green sector, in the tech sector, that our people will want. So our ambition is manifold. It is based around using culture to create good and exciting places in which people want to live, creating green spaces where people can live healthily, greenly, cleanly, and sustainably, but primarily around building those homes so that people can live, because we know it is these three things in tandem that create the opportunities for developers and our developers in the private sector, and we are committed to working with the best. But the contract that we will make with you is that if you come to us with that quality of design, that vision in terms of the development that you bring forward, we will be the best possible partner that you can have on the London scene to work with. We will work with you quickly, efficiently, and effectively to bring your development to the point of realisation, but also to ensure that that development enhances our communities, provides opportunity for our people, and ensures that Waltham Forest, as well as the rest of the sub-region, has a really bright, vibrant future. Thank you, Nicola.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Councillor Miller. I think that's very clearly set out what you're looking for in your development partner. So that's really great to hear. So thank you. And so we're going to take that down to a little bit more detail now. And I'm going to invite Stuart Murray, who's Strategic Director for Economic Growth, to talk to us about the overview of Waltham Forest's economic growth recovery, including the £500 million capital investment strategy, but also will share with us the master plan schedule for the borough. So over to you, Stuart.
Thanks, Nicola. And just leading on from Councillor Simon Miller, I want to just share with you, it's really nice to see some developer investor friends on the call as well, and some of you already here, building, constructing, creating opportunities. As Simon set out, we're doing some of that together as well. And there's a lot more to do in this borough. And we like to think that we are a borough of choice, open for partnership and business, and we're very focused on, as Councillor Simon Miller said, delivery, and to help you de-risk your investments in the borough if they help deliver our ambitions for our residents and our workforce. Yes, we've taken a big hit on COVID, and that is the challenge that Councillor Simon Miller set out for us to do, particularly about connecting people for jobs as well as public health. But we are going to be in a prime position for the bounce back of the economic recovery. Simon set out our economic recovery action plan that we launched last year, and we're refreshing that and holding a job summit next month with key partners, with key pledges. And we're ramping up, as Simon said, our delivery projects and our capital investment programme, which went to our executive cabinet this week, along with our budget. We've got resounding approval to take forward over £500 million, be it housing, schools, libraries, workspaces, our property transformation programme, our own town hall, our cultural venues, our public realm, our transport and infrastructure, our care homes, our social facilities, and our health facilities, as ever important with the COVID post-pandemic world. And we're taking that forward in terms of delivery and de-risking and quick, decisive decisions. So our planning committee have never been so busy. In the last year of the pandemic, we approved circa 2,000 new homes, a stack of regeneration projects, including our prime Walthamstow Central Mall development, which is a £200 million investment in our heart of our town centre in the borough, along with over 500 new homes. We've got a real confidence, as Simon said, around delivering that budget and that investment with partners, with yourselves, many of you on the call today. And we've set out a clear strategy, our local plan with those 27,000 homes, and we are at the forefront of master planning those now, if you can see on the slides. So the master plan projects for Waltham Forest, we're master planning the borough. On this slide alone, there's some 16 to 20,000 new homes. We're very active, working with a lot of landowners, investors, development partners, and key public sector and private sector stakeholders to bring forward all these new master plans. Some of them are very much in train, like Blackhorse Lane, which we've talked about. Some are coming, which Jonathan will mention, Low Hall, and some are being invested in now for our housing opportunity, which Jennifer will touch upon. But these are now going to be some of the biggest and most exciting opportunities in London, taking us and building us out of COVID recession, and making sure we get the jobs, the places, the opportunities, construction, skills, delivery, apprenticeships and graduate opportunities for our young people, so that we can have a better future. And just looking around that borough master planning map, you'll see that virtually all the borough is covered, although they're very different places, and we're talking about different types of density and investment and approaches. And that's the thing that councils should do. They should help be very clear about the direction of travel, work with delivery partners and local communities and residents and councillors and landowners to make sure we can unlock these opportunities and also build in the infrastructure investment. And very much the way in which we've been driving our own property transformation is bringing all our council-owned sites and those of our public sector partners to the development table, and unlocking those with private sector joint ventures and others, which I know you'll hear some of that from Darren Nathan later on. So the next slide, I'm going to focus on Blackhorse Lane. This has been backed up by an area action plan some years ago, a GLA supported housing zone, and a creative enterprise zone that we designated with all the creative businesses and industries that are here. And if you go down here 10 years ago, which I did when I worked at the GLA, it was just industrial sheds and a little bit lonely up here opposite the Victoria Line tube station, 15 minutes from King's Cross. You go there now, it is transformative. As Simon described, there's a whole new neighbourhood. We've got multiple schemes coming out of the ground already completed. We have one of the biggest private rented accommodation developments by Legal General, right against the amazing wetlands, Walthamstow Wetlands, Riverside, Waterside. We have TfL property, Barrett and L&Q coming out of the ground with the new Blackhorse Point with 50% affordable homes. As one of the mayors and TfL's flagship projects are bringing their land to development. We've got equipment works now coming up very quickly behind the LNG scheme, which is delivering significant new homes and more private rented accommodation. And we have Taylor Wimpey, who's a very significant partner in the borough. You heard about the Leyton scheme partnership we have with them at the score. They're building and occupying the Eclipse project now. And we have Greystar and Henderson, and we also have Watkin Jones at the new student accommodations. We're creating a really vibrant place here. And just recently, our planning committee approved the former standard pub for the collective co-living. And we are delivering a new music venue to deliver our cultural borough culture legacy here. So there's huge development happening, but also it's what's coming next in just this area alone. We have an amazing site with a single industrial investor and landowner, just 10 minutes from Blackhorse Road Station, to create 2,000 new homes, 1,000 new jobs, and enhance existing businesses to create local jobs for local people. And that is the way that we're going to tackle COVID. We are going to build, invest, and drive forward investment with our partners and make sure that our local residents get the direct benefit of that, either through the 15-minute neighbourhood concept or through direct pathways into jobs and opportunities. Over to you, Nicola.
Brilliant, and absolutely spot on time, so thanks very much, Stuart. Now I'm going to invite Jennifer Dalsong, who's Commercial Director Housing Delivery at Waltham Forest, who's going to provide us an overview of housing delivery. Over to you, Jennifer.
Thanks, Nicola. Good morning, everyone. Just reflecting on the comments that have come across from Councillor Miller and Stuart this morning, what a year we've had in terms of housing delivery, but also just in terms of the broader environment. And I think if you look at some of the highlights that will come up shortly on the slide that Jonathan will share with you, these are all achievements that have enabled us to really kind of deliver on the promise of the borough, which is to try and help build out of the recession that we are seeing coming over the hills for our residents, to ensure that the investment that we're making in projects on the ground is supporting local jobs. So over 200 local jobs supported by the investment that we've made in our phased housing programme and also ensuring that we keep activity going for those people who need those jobs and who need that income to support other things that are going on in their lives. And I'd say that it's not just the council that's been fleet of foot in terms of keeping things going and ensuring that we're remobilising after that brief lockdown that we had for the entire industry in the spring of last year. It's also been our partners. So I reflect on what's happened at Marlow Road over the past year. And it's been astounding, really, to think that under the current set of circumstances, we've managed to hand over an entire phase of development to complete and reopen a new library facility for residents, to complete and open new public realm for residents as well. And we're all looking forward to a time when residents will be able to make more use of that. But it's been fantastic, really. And there's an image there on the right-hand side of your screen of our energy centre, which is a further example of the way in which our commitments as a borough to climate change and the zero carbon agenda are written throughout all of the development that we've been bringing through our pipeline, and not just as a recent phenomenon. It's something that we have been delivering ourselves. We manage that energy centre ourselves over a long period of time. And those commitments have been carried through to our wholly owned local housing company, who have also had a brilliant year considering everything that they've had to contend with. They're on site for over 300 homes. All of those homes are in delivery. We've got the first batch of sales from the company coming through this year, so spring of this year, which is hugely exciting for us. We've also managed to recruit new and independent board members to the company board, and that has really renewed the company's focus on how to tackle the climate change agenda with zero carbon ambitions for all of the 450 homes that you see there advertised as part of their phase 2 pipeline. I would also reflect on the scale of activity happening across the borough throughout the pandemic, and the example of estate-based regeneration that you have at the bottom of that slide is of Avenue Road, which is located right in the heart of the southern growth zone for the borough. So you'll recall from Stuart's slides all of the homes that are planned as part of the new Leyton Mills development. Avenue Road is a council-owned asset that sits right at the heart of that area, and there's a gateway to Queen Elizabeth Olympic Park. And at the beginning of last year, actually, as a testament and a really good example of the way in which the council continued to make decisions when other people had perhaps stopped, the Cabinet for Waltham Forest Council actually approved the preferred investment route for Avenue Road at a virtual cabinet meeting in April of last year. We then held an entirely virtual engagement programme with the residents of Avenue Road Estate, which led to, at the beginning of this year, a successful resident ballot outcome with over 65% turnout and over 91% of residents in favour of the regeneration proposal. So to have done all of that virtually and to hold a virtual ballot was a huge success, I think, for the council, and a testament to the way in which we continue to keep things going. So talking about Avenue Road as one of our newer estate regeneration propositions and something that we're out to market on at the moment, as an ambitious borough, that's not enough for us. So we've just completed our estates capacity review. So this is a review that we've done of all of our other estates to understand what further opportunities there are for us to bring forward development. We recognise we can't do it all on our own. So there will be lots and lots of opportunities there, I think, for us to start talking to other potential partners about.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you very much, Jennifer. And I think we'll come back to you made a point about your commitment to the carbon agenda, and I think there's a question in the Q&A about that, so we might come back to you on that. Okay, now I'm going to hand over to Jonathan Martin, who is Director of Inward Investment. He's going to outline, excuse me, the major growth opportunities in Lea Bridge and Leyton, and including the Low Hall Depot. And really bringing together, I think, the focus that the council has on the new 15-minute neighbourhood concept. So, Jonathan, over to you.
Thank you very much, Nicola, for the introduction, and good morning, everyone. It's great to see that you've joined us today on this presentation. In terms of what I'm going to speak about, it's going to be couched within the inward investment arena and Invest Waltham Forest. And you've heard my colleagues set out eloquently for us the sort of pan-borough approach, certainly in terms of the political desire and ambition, as Councillor Miller has set out, certainly in terms of embracing that growth. And on a previous webinar this morning, there was a whole question around what's a commitment from the leadership of an area, what's a commitment from the political administration. We have that in absolute abundance in Waltham Forest, and that's something that generally tends to bleed through to these programs of investment events. And I think that's something we want to share in terms of that certainty and that commitment to look after new investment, but also look after the focus that we know our investors put into our areas, and certainly the conviction they bring forward. What does that mean in terms of actual opportunities? So I'm going to share with you a slide or two in terms of how we can bring forward opportunities around the borough. And I'm going to talk to the particular area as well, particularly around Lea Bridge. And I'm going to focus on Low Hall, but I'll start with sort of setting the context for you. We've done a lot of work in terms of master planning the borough, as Stuart mentioned at the beginning of the session, and we have focused our attention into the pan-borough approach, but been working on how we can centralise that around the centre of the borough and also the south of the borough. What we've seen in terms of investment coming forward is a great market appetite from our public and private sector investment partners to bring forward new development in the borough. Around Lea Bridge, that's manifested itself in a new station at Lea Bridge Station, and we've got the great attention and investment opportunity that Darren's going to talk us through with the three sites that he's bringing forward for us. In that station coming forward, we've seen a great deal of growth in terms of the use of that station, and also further focus from the market in terms of what can potentially come forward in a mixed use environment. And we're looking at how we can bring our own assets to bear in this particular location. So we've undertaken a strategic assets management plan. We've also undertaken a capital investment strategy, which has identified Low Hall Depot as one of the major council assets that we can bring forward for genuine mixed use regeneration. What does it mean in terms of the actual scale of the opportunity? We've got the Low Hall Depot, which is a council-owned depot, facilitating a number of operations of the council's obligations. And alongside that, we've got a lot of green space. The site is couched within 5 hectares of land and sits alongside a lot of green space to the west and to the south of the site. We're looking at how we can bring this site forward now to deliver, as was mentioned before, over 600 homes, looking at how we can make that part of a cohesive new neighbourhood, but also include the potential for delivering floor space for jobs. As was touched on by Stuart, we want to make sure that we've got a significant jobs pipeline coming forward, and that's absolutely key and central for us. I think what we also want to demonstrate is how you can bring forward council assets that deliver the whole. So the 15-minute neighbourhood is looking at how we can make sure we have the essentials that residents will need and occupiers will need in this area within a 15-minute walk or cycle. Particularly around this location, we've got Lea Bridge Station, which is just to the south of this location. We've also got Leyton, again, which is in a short stone's throw away from this location. And in between that, we've got the Enjoy Waltham Forest network of cycleways and footpaths that link the borough together. That's our 30-kilometre investment into getting cycleways across the borough using a £30 million investment from the GLA. In terms of the Low Hall Depot itself, what will it bring forward? You can see some indicative drawings of what we've identified could come forward. These aren't obviously the final set of drawings. And how are we going to take that forward? Well, we're going to look to work with the private and public sector to bring this forward as a joint venture partnership through a development agreement of some shape or form. When are we going to start to do that? Q1 this year, we're going to work through the preparation, and that'll take us through the sort of design aspects and making sure we pick up, as was mentioned by Councillor Miller, the climate emergency, the climate change, and that's really important for us. In terms of Q3 this year, and that's obviously towards the autumn, we'll be looking at a procurement process, and we want to make sure we get through that procurement process to deliver the optimal outcome for this site with the best possible development partner we can secure. in terms of how we take that forward beyond procurement in 2022. And that will be around Q3. We'll be looking at the pre-planning work and planning discussions with that successful development partner. And that's something, again, that's going to be key around making sure we match the design criteria that we require and also the climate change emergency that has been touched on previously by colleagues. In Q4 2023, we'd be expecting to secure planning. So again, that's a major step for us in terms of moving forward this significant opportunity. And then in Q4 2025, we'd expect and anticipate the first phase of this development to be available for operation, which would be the reprovision of a new depot, and then look to bring forward the wider community aspects and the residential and employment opportunities that exist. So just in summation of what I'm looking to achieve from today for us as a borough, we welcome opportunities to discuss this further as part of our growth agenda, and we also welcome the ability to take you through our aspirations around the borough with virtual tours. So I'm happy to meet with any development partners, private or public sector, to go through this, and I know that my colleagues also share this wish. That's my very brief overview. Back to you, Nicola.
Thank you so much, Jonathan. I think that's an amazing presentation between the team and really shows the ambition that you have. Now, finally, we're going to come to Darren Nathan. Darren is Partnerships Director at London Square, who, as mentioned earlier, has been working with the borough on 3 particular sites. And he's here to share his experience of working with the council. So over to you, Darren.
Thanks very much. Really good to be able to talk to everyone. I can't see you, unfortunately, and thanks very much to everyone from Waltham Forest. What a leading to the small factor that I'm going to deal with, but what has been such an important part of what Waltham Forest has been trying to achieve. London Square was founded in 2010, and in the 11 years since, it's amazing actually. We're going to celebrate our 10-year anniversary just as the pandemic kicked in, and we had to postpone it. But here we are 11 years in, exponential growth, and that's continued throughout this year. We've got a pipeline of 2,500 homes. We've got another 3,000 homes under offer, and we just haven't stopped. We've benefited government support, and we're really excited about what's happening in the marketplace. We're really proud, of course, about the quality of homes that we deliver and bringing that to Waltham Forest and bringing that to Lea Bridge. The component parts of our business principally have been our development arm, the part that I deliver, which is partnerships. And we also have London Square Works, which manages the non-residential components of sites to create best value. Just a couple of months ago, we also announced the launch of our for-profit RP Square Routes, which is to work in conjunction and bring UK investment for a fund to make sure that it's delivering, and we can help deliver more affordable housing, which is critical and has been critical on the process that Waltham Forest undertook for Lea Bridge. And how excited I should say we are that we have been selected as development partner, and we're going to work with the council and work with the community to deliver an unbelievable scheme. It's a really exciting opportunity, and it's a demonstration and evidence actually that Waltham Forest has been committed from before the pandemic and during the pandemic, and in no doubt after the pandemic, in delivering solutions that are wider than just housing. The commitment the borough gave to reopening a station that had been closed for over 30 years was a huge step to showing the people of Lea Bridge why it believed there was a new environment, a new creation that could be put there. There's a consistency between the leader and the members, the officers, that comes right the way through a procurement process. Everyone is on button and they all know what message they're trying to deliver. And what happens at Lea Bridge will be a new thoroughfare. I think that was a phrase that Jonathan used when we started to talk about it first of all. He said the key for the council is to create a new thoroughfare. It wasn't about homes. It was how do the homes meet the street? How does the street meet the cycle path and the vehicle paths? And how do we deliver something that the local community benefits? The schools, the businesses and the communities and all of the community groups that live and work around and use Lea Bridge. So the process started with that. And when the procurement process began, it was all driven around dialogue. We had dialogue meetings with the council and a wide group of the officers from the council to make sure that through the bidding process, the right solution was delivered. 300 new homes, a new community hub to serve and work with the local community with a solution for the local community as part of the bid process. The shops and the offices that will sit at the lower levels of the buildings, and making sure that on these very difficult sites that the right levels of amenity were delivered as well. And not just amenity for the apartments and the homes that are being built, but also the new amenity green that's delivered on one part of the development, which is for the local people, for everyone who lives in the environment and walks through the environment that is Lea Bridge. I don't think there's anyone can doubt the commitment that the council had as a whole in finding a solution that was more than just delivering the homes and the affordable homes. And I think that's a consistent message. When you look at what has happened and what we're delivering there, and how actually that development meets with the streets, we're really keen and excited to work with the council through the dialogue process, the communication process as we go through planning, to make sure that everything we've promised to the council we will deliver actually comes to a fruition at the end. And just to finish, I think although Waltham Forest is not yet a colour on the Monopoly board, I don't think there's any doubt through the process that it does, that it's there in the community chest and what it's doing for the people that live in the borough.
Nicely done, Darrison. I'm just thinking to change the Monopoly board then and update it. Thank you for that. I think that's been really fascinating, and I hope everyone that's listening in is equally just, I guess, I sort of admire the ambition, and we've talked about everything from strategy right at the political level with Simon all the way through to looking at the borough as a whole, and finishing with Darren and the kind of the nitty gritty details of what the council say they will do is actually obviously what has happened. And it does come down to communication time and time again, and having that really clear ambition. At Future of London, we work with nearly all of the boroughs across London, and it's incredible the difference between those boroughs that are really clear about where they want to go, what their ambition is, what is distinct about the borough, and being really open for business. So that's really fantastic to hear. Now we've got some questions in the Q&A. I've got a few that I'm going to start with now, chair's privilege, but if you've got any more questions, please do pop them in the Q&A. I think nearly all of you talked about the importance of jobs and employment, especially coming out of obviously and going through the recovery following COVID. So I wonder if you could just tell us about what the most important employment sectors are in Waltham Forest, given that we are probably going to see a decrease in some, but there's going to be real opportunity for growth industries. So I don't know who wants to pick that up, maybe Stuart, on employment opportunities and where you see the future for Waltham Forest.
I mean, we've got our job summit next month, which many people will be on that. So there'll be a range of players, including the development sector. Construction is a big part of our job sectors. And of course, you might say, well, are these more transient jobs? Well, actually, given we've got a 15-year building programme, that is a really key part. And we have our construction and skills centre based in South Leytonstone, very close to the Avenue Road estate that Jennifer referred to, where we're developing skills, making sure that we have apprenticeships and skilled labour, to particularly post-Brexit, to feed that supply of construction labour in the future. Creative sector is really important to us. It's our sort of distinctiveness, it's our edginess. There are a lot of companies that have been, before the pandemic, were moving out up the Upper Lea Valley from City Fringe, Hoxton, Hackney, Dalston, dare I say, and moving up to Lea Bridge area and Leyton and Walthamstow, Blackhorse Lane. And that's creating a real vibe. And we've just had a couple of meetings with potential investors who are very much on the cultural and creative side of this. We're partly driving that in terms of ourselves. We're putting huge investment into a cultural infrastructure of a new theatre in Walthamstow at the E&D Cinema, which Councillor Simon Miller touched upon. And so we're sort of creating a stimulus for more cultural and creative opportunities. Sorry about my doorbell going. And I think the other sectors, we've got a lot of businesses that are in logistics and distribution that have been really critical during the pandemic. And some of those are changing, they've been pivoting through this and have been so vital to supporting our community. And we've got a lot of businesses that do support the central London economy that have been hit hard, particularly hospitality and the supply chains that sit behind that. Including the sort of the theatrical and artistic community, and we need to sort of support them and ask the government to support them. And I think also from the public health and the health agenda from the pandemic, our social care and our health sectors are really important job creators. And I think the government is going to prioritise health and social care as a big driver. We have a huge A&E hospital in the borough, as well as an extensive social care network. And we are redeveloping Whipps Cross Hospital with Barts as the NHS Trust in partnership. And then we're going to create new opportunities there for new jobs in that particular sector. And of course, we're open to new sectors as well, retail, hospitality, offices, businesses, financial services. And we pitch to where our role is, where we can contribute to London and maximise benefits for our residents.
Brilliant, thank you. Does anyone else want to come into that? And then I'm going to move on. Simon, sure, go for it.
Stuart's touched on those areas where we have strength, and our view as a council is we need to build on those areas where we have strength, but also explore those areas where we have opportunity. And around that clustering of new creative industries, some of which is imported, some of which is indigenous. So we have this extraordinary tradition of makers, artists, and people involved in the creative enterprise, but often at sub-scale levels. But around that is now clustering opportunities that new, high-tech, digital and green. The opportunity for us is to create the space and the accommodation for jobs to flourish in those sectors as well. So using employment land, which in many parts is often a bit neglected, you've been there for years, some of it has real value in employment terms, but the accommodation that it's in is not very intensively used and could be used better. Transforming that so that those high-tech jobs of the future, those green jobs of the future, those high-skilled jobs of the future, which can be located in that 15-minute neighbourhood, could be located so that our people have employment opportunities for long-term jobs and long-term high-skill, high-paying jobs in their area. So not just those areas of historic strength, but plenty of future areas of strength that we're really keen to grow, explore, and to make real.
Okay, brilliant, thank you. So we've got a question here from Marcus Bate at Mount Anvil that's for Jennifer. There's quite a few in here. You mentioned commitments on zero carbon and improving cycling infrastructure. So what are the most ambitious, innovative initiatives being brought forward by either yourselves or your developers?
I think in terms of our commitments to zero carbon, I think we've done a huge amount as a borough around trying to embed district energy networks within our schemes. And that's not just our own schemes, that's actually within the housing zones that Jonathan's referred to. So really acting as a catalyst to enable other developers to take advantage of the investment that we're putting in that infrastructure, and actually, doing the thing that's really difficult and not many people have been able to do, which is to try and connect up sites that aren't in our ownership to those energy networks. And of course, that then provides the infrastructure to enable renewable energy technologies, generating technologies to plug into. So the energy centre that I referred to at Marlow Road has capacity for expansion, and it is one that we will be expanding out beyond the boundary of the development itself. So I think it's that kind of, it's a mindset really in Waltham Forest around engaging with others to try and produce something that's better than we would be able to do by ourselves. I'll have to pass in terms of the cycling infrastructure. Everybody loves Waltham Forest, and that was a really brave move that was made by the administration, and perhaps Councillor Miller would like to add to that.
Yeah, so thank you very much, Jen. So as a council, we declared a climate emergency. That is a political statement that underpins our commitment to carbon to what we're doing. We appointed an expert climate commission to make recommendations to us. They did that toward the tail end of last year. At the moment, we're working through those recommendations and working through our response. We will publish that in the spring. But underpinning this will be a really significant expansion of the work that we are doing to, one, encourage public transport usage, to encourage walking, cycling through the expansion of the mini holiday programme, but also then to look at other things like how we encourage and how we finance people to retrofit their own homes to improve energy efficiency there. So we are looking way beyond what's ordinarily in the gift of a council to deliver, but how we deliver transformational change across that green space more generally.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you very much. I'm going to pick one of the other questions. So this is a question to Jennifer, is congratulations on the successful ballot on Avenue Road, which was, I believe, the only ballot we've had on whilst we've been in lockdown. Is that right? I think in London, isn't it, at least? Yeah. So you mentioned digital remote engagement during lockdown. What were the main challenges and learning from that effective engagement with residents?
I think the main challenge actually was kind of getting over this idea that engagement had to be face-to-face. Now, you know, if you're a regeneration practitioner, knocking on the door is almost, you know, you expect it to be part of the job, don't you? Talking to those households. And I think there was a moment where we sat down as a team and just thought, can we do this if we can't do the door knocking? But actually, the bit of learning that I think we've all taken away from it is just how successful on-demand engagement has been. So if you think about it, I think about it a bit like the way I think about Netflix, which is that it's no longer about when the council wants to engage with you. It is empowering residents to engage with us when they have the time to do it and the headspace to think about it. Of course, one of the other challenges that we had over this period was just being very mindful of the fact that people have a lot going on, a lot of stress, you know, homeworking, homeschooling, all of that sort of stuff. So actually making engagement so that it fits around other people's schedules, I think was a real strength and a real positive and plus that we'll take through to any other engagement that we do, even under normal circumstances, should they ever reappear.
Okay. Does anyone else want to pick up on that point? And then I'm just going to do a final question, which is from Lois Mills. Is the retail units in the Motion development site are empty? So Darren, do you want to tell us a little bit more about how you've been addressing that issue?
Yeah, I think there's a few things. It's not lost on anyone. Not around the world, the impacts that the pandemic has had on closed businesses, on the entertainment industry, and we still haven't come out of lockdown. We can finally see a way forward. And what I would say, and I think, you know, Motion is a really good development. It started to deliver something to the Lea Bridge area. When we've looked at Lea Bridge, it's not lost on us the commercial risks and the risks around the retail space. We're not short-termists. We have to look to the future. And I go back to what the council's challenge was at the start. It wants to create a new thoroughfare. So I always stab a guess at this. I know that when the council reopened the station, it underwrote the minimum number of passengers that will travel through the station. And I think that's hit around about 625 or 650,000 a year now. With the development and the investment in the local area, that is going to grow and that's going to create new life to that area. And I think the most important thing is that together with the council, and we will work with Waltham Forest to deliver the right solutions, closely reliant and I suppose working very closely with the local communities to make sure that we're delivering what is needed, but also delivering that council ambition. We have to look to the future and look beyond the pandemic and start believing in what we can achieve.
And I think, I mean, this isn't a unique, is it? This will be happening all over London, all over the country, all over the world, I guess. And I think, to your point, it's about being positive, isn't it? It's about thinking about what are the different options and not just kind of freezing in terms of decision making. It's all about.
Let's take off the rose tinted glasses. I'm not wearing rose tinted glasses, I promise everyone. If you go to Oxford Street now, there's no one walking around Oxford Street. We know that the life is going to come back to the capital. And the capital is not just about the central areas, it's about everywhere. Our lifestyles are going to change because we've all started to really engage with our local shops and our local areas. So let's embrace that. Let's grab hold of that opportunity and recognise that we're going to operate post-pandemic in a very different way. And that means that local areas have got a greater opportunity to deliver. And what's it going to deliver? It's going to deliver jobs. Every job that's delivered in a local area is going to deliver a buying opportunity because there'll be materials and things being sold. This is an opportunity. However, the challenge is not lost on us, and we're just going to make sure we succeed.
Absolutely. And it's just being ready, isn't it? It's being ready with a plan for when we come out of lockdown. Absolutely.
Very quickly, Nicola.
Yes, go for it. Yeah.
So historically, Lea Bridge has been a dormitory area. People have commuted into central London from it until very recently. They didn't even do that from Lea Bridge Station. As Darren said, travel levels from Lea Bridge Station, I think, are now 3 times their anticipated level, and that will grow as new trains are brought on with additional capacity. Motion it's a great development, was ever so slightly slow to come forward in terms of its impact. That will start to change, and Lea Bridge is changing in terms of how it understands itself, how it shops, how it lives in that area. It's not just about people spending their evenings there and locking themselves in at home. It is now about exploring the wider area, Leyton Jubilee Park, the improving retail offer, and that will only accelerate, particularly as we all get used to new working patterns. Because I think, irrespective of where you work now, you're going to be spending an awful lot more time at home as 2 days in the office become the norm rather than 5 days. And that will mean there'll be lots more demand for the types of unit that exist in Emotion, the types of unit that will exist in the station sites like London Square, bringing forward. And as a council, we've been very active in trying to find the best possible uses for those units. And that's been slightly delayed by the time it's taken to bring forward the cycle superhighway, which possibly during construction obscured the potential of some of these units as well, because it meant for a long time, traffic was being held up and there were building works outside what should be a fantastic commercial opportunity. But it's now that fantastic commercial opportunity as we start to emerge from lockdown.
Absolutely, thank you. So I'm going to invite the panel, each of you, maybe just say one thing that sums up what makes Waltham Forest unique. So I'm going to start with Jonathan and then go to Stuart and then Jennifer. So one thing that from your point of view makes Waltham Forest unique, and why should people come and invest in your borough?
Thanks very much, Nicola. I think certainly in terms of that one thing, it's that cultural and heritage offer that we have, which is embraced by the borough, but also embraced by the administration. What that leads to for us is an absolute copper-bottomed intention to embrace growth and embrace new investment. What's clear is that we're looking at the whole borough. We've got 8 town centres. All of them have their own unique characteristics, and it's how we can integrate these new opportunities to those new communities. But importantly, support the investment ambition that we see from the private and public sector. So everything in this seminar should give you the reason why you should come and invest in Waltham Forest.
Brilliant. Thank you, Stuart.
I would say it's passionate, commercially focused leadership, both the borough and its partners, of making transformative, positive change. And that leadership, that clarity of leadership and the passion to get positive outcomes and make things happen, that's what's driving us.
Okay. Jennifer, and then I'm going to give the final word to Councillor Miller.
It's always hard going last, isn't it? I'd go back to the to one of the attributes that is inscribed on the town hall, which is about fellowship, and it's around the kind of can-do, we will work with you attitude that we have at Waltham Forest Council, and I think that runs through pretty much every aspect of the public services that we deliver.
And Councillor Miller.
Well, so getting last got harder by the moment. So the team all of the, not the obvious, but the very, very true, very real reasons why Waltham Forest is a special place. Now, it goes without saying, it's about people, it's about place. Fortunately, I have amazing people in this place, and it is about this team, this extraordinarily brilliant, diverse team who have done so much to realise the political ambition. So if you want good reason to work or to come to Waltham Forest, to invest in Waltham Forest, It's because you will be working with one of the best teams in the country, if not the best team in the country, and they will do everything they can to make your development and your ambition real in a way that delivers lasting benefit to a much, much wider body of people.
Excellent, thank you so much. And I would really sort of second that. We, as I said, we work with nearly all of the boroughs across London, and Waltham Forest are always been one of the most ambitious, with a clear brand for their borough and clear drive, and we are open for business kind of attitude. We always are going to them for field trips, for case studies, and they're a fantastic team to work with as an external partner, as Darren has said. So I'd like to personally thank the panel very much. I think that's been a fantastic session. I'm now going to hand over to Ross, who's going to do kind of final thank yous and finish us this session off for today. Over to you.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Nicola. And thank you also very much to the panel for a really interesting session. I did say at the beginning, it's brimful with exciting opportunity. And I think that was very clearly demonstrated. Thanks very much. We have two more Real Estate Live sessions today. At 1 o'clock, we've got a session called British Independent Business in 2021 and Beyond, in partnership with Aviva and Barwell. And then at 2 o'clock, we've got the imaginative approach, placemaking and public realm in a post-COVID world, which features, just to get you interested, a never seen before combination of Westminster and Stockton-on-Tees. Don't miss it. Real estate will be back, as I said, in June and October, June 14th and 18th. October the 4th to the 8th. See the website for more events. Waltham Forest will be back, so you can come and catch up and see where they've moved on their local depot programme for. So thank you again for joining this event. We look forward to seeing you at another Real Estate Live UK event in the future. Bye.